listen carefully, because this message is not for everyone. This message is for the one who was overlooked, the one who was doubted, the one who was left alone to fight battles nobody else could even understand. You didn't just go through hardship, you walked through fire. And let's be honest, there were moments you almost didn't make it. Moments where your faith felt fragile. Moments where your strength felt like it was slipping through your hands. Moments where you questioned everything. Why me? Why this pain? Why this silence? But what you didn't realize at the time was that every tear, every setback, every lonely night was shaping you into something unstoppable. You see, chosen one, ordinary people break under pressure. But you were built differently. There was a point where everything collapsed. Relationships fell apart. Opportunities disappeared. Support vanished. And the people you thought would stand with you walked away without looking back. That wasn't an accident. That was separation. Because before elevation comes isolation. Before transformation comes destruction of everything that no longer aligns with who you're meant to become. And yes, it hurt. It hurt in ways words can't fully capture. But here's the truth they never told you. That breaking point wasn't the end of you, it was the beginning of your real self. Because when everything was stripped away, you had no choice but to meet you. Not the version shaped by others, not the version trying to fit in, but the real, raw, powerful version of yourself. While they were busy counting you out, you were rebuilding, in silence, in pain, in determination. You weren't posting about it, you weren't announcing it, you weren't seeking validation. You were doing something far more powerful. You were evolving. Every setback became a lesson. Every betrayal became wisdom. Every delay became preparation. And slowly, quietly, you started to change. Your mindset shifted. Your energy sharpened. Your focus became unstoppable. And the same things that once broke you couldn't even touch you anymore. Then came the moment they never saw coming. You walked back into life not as the person they remembered, but as someone completely transformed. Your presence felt different. Your energy spoke before you even said a word. Your confidence wasn't loud, but it was undeniable. And suddenly, the same people who doubted you started watching you. The same people who left you started noticing you. The same people who underestimated you couldn't ignore you anymore. Because this wasn't a comeback. This was a revelation. You think your transformation went unseen. Number. Every step you took in faith, every moment you chose strength over surrender, every time you kept going when quitting felt easier, was witnessed, not just by people, but by something greater. Because when a chosen one refuses to give up, when they rise against all odds, when they turn pain into purpose, it sends a ripple through the universe. It shakes the unseen. It commands attention. Because what you did wasn't normal. It was divine. Let's be clear, you didn't just recover. You became stronger than the pain that once controlled you. You became wiser than the mistakes that once defined you. You became calmer than the chaos that once surrounded you. And now, you move differently. You think differently. You choose differently. Because you understand something most people never will. Not everything is meant to stay. Not everyone is meant to go with. Hello. And that clarity, that's power. You are no longer the person who seeks approval. You are no longer the person who tolerates disrespect. You are no longer the person who doubts their worth. You have stepped into something greater, something stronger, something unstoppable. You now carry a presence that commands respect without demanding it. You now hold a vision that doesn't need validation. You now walk a path that is guided not by fear but by purpose. Have you noticed it? The shift in how people treat you, the subtle tension, the quiet observation, the unspoken acknowledgement. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. Because your growth exposed what they lack. Your strength highlights their weakness. Your discipline reveals their inconsistency. And your presence, it reminds them of what they could have been but chose not to become. That's why they feel uneasy. That's why they watch from a distance. Because deep down, they know you're not the same anymore. Let me tell you something powerful. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared for levels most people can't handle. Prepared for responsibilities most people would run from. Prepared for a life that requires strength, discipline, and unwavering faith. Everything you went through was necessary. Every delay, every heartbreak, every setback was part of the process. And here's what you need to understand right now. You haven't even reached your peak yet. What you've experienced so far, that was just the training. That was just the preparation. That was just the foundation. Because what's coming next requires the version of you that refused to give up, the version of you that kept going, the version of you that came back stronger than ever. So now, walk differently, speak differently, move differently. Not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. Awareness of your strength, awareness of your growth, awareness of your purpose. You are not who you used to be, and you will never go back to that version again, because you've seen what you're capable of, you've felt your own power, you've experienced your own transformation, and now, there's no stopping you, chosen one. You didn't just survive, you didn't just recover, you rose, stronger, wiser, unshakable. And this time, you're not just coming back, you're taking everything that was meant for you. Chosen one, listen closely, because what you went through wasn't just a storm, it was a refining fire. And fire does one of two things: it either destroys or it purifies. And in your case, it purified you. It burned away the fear that once held you back. It burned away the doubt that once clouded your vision. It burned away the attachments that were never meant to stay in your life. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it felt unbearable at times. But that fire revealed something powerful. You are not fragile. You are forged. Let's talk about the battles nobody saw, the mental battles, the emotional battles, the spiritual battles, the nights where your mind wouldn't rest, the mornings where getting out of bed felt like a victory, the days where you smiled on the outside but felt chaos within. Nobody clapped for you then. Nobody noticed your strength then. Nobody understood what it took just for you to keep going. But you kept going anyway. That's what makes you different. That's what separates you. Because a chosen one doesn't need an audience to be powerful. They become powerful in isolation. At one point, your mind was your biggest battlefield. Negative thoughts tried to take over. Doubt tried to convince you to quit. Fear tried to make you small. But something shifted. You stopped believing every thought. You stopped feeding every fear. You stopped entertaining every doubt. And slowly, you took control. You trained your mind to focus. You trained your mind to believe. You trained your mind to rise above the noise. Now, your mind isn't your weakness anymore. It's your weapon. You used to feel everything deeply. Every betrayal hit hard. Every disappointment cut deep. Every loss left a mark. And while that sensitivity once felt like a burden, it became your strength. Because now you still feel, but you don't fall apart. You still care, but you don't lose yourself. You still love, but you don't ignore red flags. You've mastered something rare: emotional control. And that's power most people never achieve. Think back to all the things that didn't work out, the opportunities you lost, the relationships that ended, the plans that failed. At the time it felt like rejection. But now, you see it differently. You see that those closed doors were protection. Because if those things had stayed, it would have limited your growth. They would have drained your energy. They would have distracted you from your purpose. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually alignment. One of your greatest transformations: you stopped explaining yourself to everyone. You stopped reacting to every situation. You stopped proving your worth to people who couldn't see it. Instead, you became silent. Not weak silence, not fearful silence, but powerful silence. The kind of silence that observes, the kind of silence that understands, the kind of silence that moves strategically. Because you realize not everything deserves your energy. Now you see things differently. You read people better. You sense energy faster. You recognize intentions quicker. You don't fall for empty words anymore. You don't get easily impressed. You don't ignore your intuition. Because your experiences taught you something valuable. Discernment is protection. And now you move with awareness. There was a time when you tolerated less than you deserved. You accepted inconsistency. You overlooked disrespect. You settled for crumbs when you deserved more. But not anymore. Now you know your worth. You protect your peace. You demand alignment. And if something doesn't match your standards, you walk away. Not out of ego, but out of self-respect. Have you noticed? You don't have to say much anymore. Your presence does the talking. People feel your confidence. People sense your strength. People recognize your growth. Even when you're silent, you're powerful. Because energy doesn't lie. And your energy now, it's different. It's elevated. It's undeniable. You're not following the crowd anymore. You're not chasing validation. You're not comparing your journey to others. You've stepped into your own lane. And that path, it may feel lonely at times, but it's purposeful. Because not everyone is meant to walk this path. Not everyone is meant to understand this journey. This is the path of the chosen. Now you see it. Why certain people had to leave. why certain situations had to happen, why certain delays were necessary. It's all connecting. It's all aligning. It's all preparing you for something bigger, because nothing you went through was random. It was all part of the plan. Where you're going, the old version of you wouldn't survive. It required too much growth, too much discipline, too much strength. That's why you had to change. That's why you had to evolve. That's why you had to become who you are now, because the next level, it demands it. Now listen carefully. Don't go back to what broke you. Don't lower your standards. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't reconnect with what you've outgrown. You didn't come this far to fall back into old patterns. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. Protect your growth at all costs. You are living proof that pain can create power. That struggle can build strength. That setbacks can lead to success. You are the example. You are the testimony. You are the evidence that no matter how hard it gets, you can rise. So no, stand tall. Not because life was easy, but because you made it through what was hard. Speak with confidence. Not because you were always strong, but because you became strong. Move with purpose. Not because the path was clear, but because you kept walking anyway. Chosen one. You didn't just come back stronger. You came back wiser. You came back focused. You came back unstoppable. And this time, nothing can break you. Nothing can distract you. Nothing can stop what's meant for you.